इतना सा फर्क है कुछ होने में और बहुत कुछ होने में। इतना सा फर्क है एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में। मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी, सोचने में कि अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान, मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा ही। धरती और सातवें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा ही। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया, 20 years of ideas.
Good afternoon, everyone. We warmly welcome all of you to our Business Opportunity with Chai webinar series. This is a particular webinar designed for all our investors to digitally interact with the brand team, understand their business as well as financial model. It's a 45-minute session where first we invite the brand to talk about their business model with the help of the presentation. Moving towards our panel discussion, our panel members would love to take all your queries. There is a question and answer box. We request everyone to maximize the webinar by sharing maximum questions in question and answer box. The particular webinar is hosted by management team of Franchise India, Gaurav sir and Solimam. The entire Franchise India team is aimed to provide maximum business solutions through our digital and physical events to all our investors. And we are delighted, as well as it's our privilege, to invite and launch this particular business opportunity for all our investors, AWL Private Limited. It's a well-established logistic and supply chain management company. They have already served 75,000 plus clients. They have experience of 20 years and they have penetrated the market with 14 locations. It is our honor that today we are joined by Neeraj Makhija ji, who is the CEO, as well as we have Sumanta De, who is a country manager at AWL. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining in today. You've been very busy, but you spare time for this particular business opportunity. We would like to welcome you, we are here to talk about your business opportunity. So thank you so much. Now over to you, sir.
So Abhishek, World Logistics, the abbreviation is AWL Private Limited. We'll get into the company overview, the market analysis, and finally the partner proposal that we have. So Abhishek World is a logistics supply chain management company. By now you have already got to know about us. We are headquartered in New Delhi. We have a wide portfolio of services which is international in nature: air freight, sea freight, also road cargo and custom clearance, warehousing, and various other specialized, integrated supply chain solutions that we have. Our exclusivity lies in transporting capital, heavy lifts, industrial goods also by ship or sometime by air. We're quite a trusted name because this brand is also supported by the parent group, which is also there for the last 20 years. Hence, our infrastructure is absolutely superb and strong. As I mentioned about earlier, we have air freight, sea freight, currently with the road transportation also, warehousing, distribution, a project cargo division separate. We also have fairs and exhibition events division for the last many years. And of course, custom clearance. Our expertise are to provide services to multiple varied industries. Most of these industries are mentioned here. We are in the automotive sector, engineering and manufacturing, energy sector, packaging, life sciences and healthcare, technology, also retail and public sector. A quick look at the market that we are into it. The current 2021 was Indian logistics industry has been shown as $250 billion, and there's a huge growth. Though I must mention out here that this figure is inclusive of international freight forwarding that we do and the local domestic business that we do. However, imports last year was almost exports were almost 410 billion, and imports was a little more than 600 billion. So you can very well understand how the international freight forwarding business is also. In 2017 to 2025, you see the growth projected is almost 380 billion. However, the logistics expenditure, if you see in the intercity and others, there's a marked difference into it. Intercity is 87%, but 13% what you see into others is not what freight forwarding is all about, as I gave. It is about the total domestic logistics market. But the growth that we have in export and import has grown in the last 1 year, though there was a pandemic in 2020 and 2021. A domestic overview we have given, but then this is basically commodity wise. What are the commodities that are basically moving on a supply chain platform? Why do we see generally a trend in this expansion? Because there are government regulations which have sort of been made flexible. There is a concept of ease of doing business. So many things are done today where there are no more impediments. Earlier there were. There are new players coming in almost every month in our industry, and there's huge amount of growth that we see in the industry. And also with the new age technology, we have revolutionized the logistics sector. So a lot of digitization has happened. We are also in the part of that digital upgradation also. What we are distinguishing us in understanding of the market and our client focus is the key factor here. Heavy lift cargo, we mentioned, we do integrated operations. We integrate international air and sea freight forwarding, local distribution, custom clearance as a part of our, extended operation. This custom clearance we offer for export and import. So we are looking at a total supply chain from kind of an end-to-end solution where we can do the custom clearance here in India, transport the goods to the nearest port, custom clear it again, and then send it by ship, or we send it by the cargo air freight by air. We have also arrangements with overseas partners who again can custom clear it in their country and deliver it up to the door, of course paying the duty. We of course have a very proactive approach and adaptability. We have a global presence. That is a very, very important thing, a USP that we are trying to promote here in our partner proposal, that many partners would like to know, prospective partners. We are looking at cities where we have seen in the past, there are many operators. They have a small scale business, but they cannot grow in terms of volume because they cannot service their surrounding customers due to their inability to sort of get across all the continents in delivering door delivery shipments or getting custom cleared. So we have a great global presence with our partners, and that's how the forwarding industry moves. So we can give that wide canvas for the partners to operate. We also have a lot of customization. We are known for our customization in terms of solutions. So we don't give whatever the straight line way of giving solution to our customers by just sending goods from port to port or airport to airport. As I've been mentioning it a number of times, we can give customized solution at the origin. We can give customized solution at the various countries at the destinations, or vice versa. If you're importing, then we can give the origin service at the import, then the ship or the aircraft, and then again we give destination services, including trucking, custom clearance, documentation, insurance, everything. Our systems are absolutely geared up, and with the system, we expect our working should be smooth. The partner will not have any problem in having any manual entry, manual data, manual costing. We will be providing that support, of course, after training. So phase one is to target North Zone and then other metro cities, tier 2 cities, with an expansion plan for whole of India. The immediate potential of 40 plus offices are given below, and you'll see the north, how we are covering is uh, Delhi, of course, we are there, but then Punjab, Amritsar, Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Patiala, Chandigarh, other cities too. Haryana, we are covering most of the cities where we can have captive cargo. Though this slide has a limited scope of showing all the cities, we are planning to open up or rather give the partner the scope anywhere in Uttar Pradesh or Haryana or Punjab, where, a town like Allahabad city, or it could be Varanasi, it could be Kanpur, which is also mentioned, it could be Vadoi, Muradabad. And then, of course, with north getting stabilized, we will naturally want to move to west and south and finally east and central India. What we are looking at is from a partner that we need partner with strong business development, uh, CRM and liaising skills. So these skills are obviously required. If they have these skills, then running this business should not be a problem if they're trained properly. So backed with perseverance and patience to handle the operations, we will certainly support, but the front end activity of the partner becomes very important in terms of the business development skills that you would have. Partners with existing tie-ups and reputation in their allocated area would be certainly preferable. If you are already having a business model there and you're connected with the local market, it would be certainly more preferable, and it'll help the partner in reaching out to customers, because there could be customers whom the partners are already dealing with local issues, local transportation, but the partner may not have actually probed into that customer's import need or export need, which goes to maybe a custom clearance broker or to some other forwarder. So he can extend the business from transportation or some documentation to export oriented or import oriented services where we come in, or road transport. So the whole the ambit of operation suddenly expands to a global reach. Thirdly, existing businesses wanting to convert into a reputable brand like us, they are most welcome, because continuing with the second point, that if you are doing a business at a local level, if you want to grow, if you want to expand with a global reach, of course, with more coverage, footprint, and of course, the return, then I think this partnership model would really work well. Young entrepreneurs wanting to have their own businesses, they have absolutely the right model with us. And if somebody has a prior experience in the industry itself, that would be finally, naturally, a very, very important tool or advantage that the partner would have. Any experience in our industry would really help. So basically, the parameters and the location, what you're looking at is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, key areas in cities which have large opportunity or demand for logistics and supply chain, however not represented locally till date. They may be away from the central hub, but not in that local area, though the exporters or the importers might be in that area. We'll come to the financial in the second slide, but its approximate initial working capital is 30 lakhs in the proposal that we have mentioned. There's a partnership fee, and you would just require a 100 square feet office to manage the show. The partner is basically to run daily operations through their own setup, and could also take a support staff. If you think that you're growing, you cannot manage with yourself, you want to take one or two staff for additional business development activities, of course you're free to do that, and it'll help you in scaling up the business. So this model is basically partner owned, partner operated, ownership, investment, operation by the partner, brand guidelines would be given by us, and the company will of course come back with the partner, apart from the partner fee, the profit sharing mechanism that we'll have. So basically, this is a model of a single unit and a multi-unit. A multi-unit partner to open at least 5 to 10 units in a particular state, and city level offices, business units in key strategy locations wherever it is feasible. So on a multi-unit, you have the brand, you have a partner, and you can have a multiple unit out down there. Or in a single unit, normally the brand has two partners with, again, single partners, a single unit under them. So each unit to be assigned unique code, which would be reflected in the system for performance tracking. So that is a very technical way of looking at it. We have our ERP, we can create those branches as units and monitor and give you the information how the units are performing. So what are the roles and responsibilities? We're looking from the partner point of view and from our or from the brand's point of view. From the partner point of view, mandatory training to be given, to be taken from the brand before starting the business. This is absolutely important for product understanding and guidelines. Partners would be responsible for smooth day-to-day operations at the location after the training is given. They would be responsible for brand expansion activity, where we might come up with various promotional activity which needs to be percolated down, and you have the partners would need to move ahead in expanding the business in the new network connections. The partner would also take active part in brand promotion, as I mentioned just now, through local marketing activities from time to time, and should keep a track of queries, orders, update the brand on timely basis. And you can also have local leads that we can send across to convert it into business. There, your tracking of queries, apart from your own queries, would be very important for us. From the brand's point of view, brand shall provide training to all the partners on business aspects. We'll have centralized server, which we have here to service your queries and order management. Brand will help support our partners by providing knowledge on industry and taking care of all logistics support, and will ensure different modes of logistics support available to each partner. Feedback support to be provided to all partners to help improve performance. We'll certainly give you feedback on a transaction basis or a multiple transaction or on a weekly basis and certainly on a monthly basis. What we basically at Abhishek World we're looking at is network support to bring customers. We have an advanced ERP, as I mentioned, to track orders and query, marketing and social media campaigns to drive the revenue. We'll give the logistics management, comprehensive service mix. We have a variety and array of services, as I mentioned in the very second slide, that we can make those things available to you. Operation and technical support, of course, with our expertise, we can give you that support. Site selection, if jointly has to be done, if you think that in your area, we can also come up with some ideas and help you out in terms of whether it will be feasible in the particular market to have your setup. Training, as we mentioned previously, will give continuously. Of course, the first training would be very important with an SOP. And of course, R&D to keep update with the industry. From time to time, we'll certainly share our industry information through bulletins across the partner network. As we mentioned in the previous slide, a partner fee has been kept as 1 lakh and setup cost is 1,50,000 basically. The working can be shown. An initial working capital is of 30 lakhs to be invested, and almost it will be going down almost 6 times in a year. An approximate margin we are looking at almost annually at a 26 to 27%. Our minimum agreement is of course for 1 year, and payback period, though we say 3 months, but it could be a little early also. That brings to the end of the presentation, a brief presentation. We might naturally look from questions, which I'm open to the forum, and Neeraj would be there to also address it.
Thank you so much, Sumanta-ji, and thank you so much, Neeraj-ji, for coming on this webinar. And friends, while we were taking you through the presentation, I did see a lot of hands being raised. So the next 15-20 minutes is where we will take any questions that you have on the business model. So I'll request all our friends who are joined in to put their Q&A box that you can see at the bottom of your screen. Any questions that you have on the business, you can use the Q&A box and write. And if you come from any relevant experience or complementing experience, this would help us in maybe knowing you better. And if you can also mention the city or maybe the state PIN code, for our reference. And I'm more than happy to take any questions with your name and city starting now. So thank you once again, friends, for being with us on this through this presentation. And the company AWL Logistics has a very broad portfolio of services, which includes air freight, sea freights, road cargo services, and also the entire management of customer clearance and warehousing services. And they're a wholly integrated supply chain solution company, very big legacy that they have enjoyed, and I would say very reputed legacy. And their promoters also come with experience in the automotive industry, nearly 20 years in logistics alone. And they also have a lot of capabilities in-house, I would say, which includes their fleet of trucks, warehousing, distribution capabilities and services, which includes all major cities in the country and also globally. And the deep delivery capabilities of AWL, and they're also building a very strong foundation of a very dynamic, hyper local consumer market. And that's where we're looking at partners in the rollout cities. And if you also look at the industry overall, the Indian logistics industry is growing, and especially after facing a big slowdown in the last, I would say, 1.5 to 2 odd years, there's a big growth that we see coming in the industry. And not only that, I'm also seeing a very good, big response. I think overall in the last 1.5 odd years, whenever we are doing any kind of webinars or opportunity, which is courier logistics centric, we get a very good response. And also adding to the growth overall to the industry, there are very proactive policies from the government, which are giving a very big push to the industry. And I would say better connectivity, freight corridors, dedicated technology-driven warehousing are some of also the important key highlights of, the Gati Shakti PM program, which is a part of the unit budget 2022. So as a company, and also on the model quickly, I'll just cover what Sumanta ji also talked about. It's a small setup which is needed about 100 square feet in terms of the space, and also entry fee which is a 1 lakh investment that is needed. But we're looking at partners who either come with complementing experience, that can be an advantage. But however, the first time entrepreneurs are also welcome. We need people who are able to put time in the business, and more importantly, we need people who can go to the market and build that market for the business. And this kind of business owning or ownership does not require any kind of specialization. The company takes care of entire training and support which comes from the company, including their SOPs which are established. The franchise partners are trained on that. So I'll take maybe my first question to you, Neeraj ji, Sumanta ji. My first question, we're talking about logistics, and you've been one of the front runners also in the industry. When we look at the competition mapping, how do you position yourself, and where do you see going maybe in the next 4 to 5 years overall the industry? And also maybe a competitive advantage that you see that we have as AWL vis-a-vis maybe the other competition that is present.
I really thank Sonia ji, you personally, Franchisee India as an organization, for taking this initiative of introducing logistics to the Franchisee India segment. Till date, if you look at Franchisee India has been working with touch and feel, segments. I think logistics is one of the segment which is absolutely on trend now. It's trending, in the government corridors, in the corporate corridors, in international corridors. Everywhere today, if something is trending, is international logistics and supply chain issues here. So I congratulate you, to take this initiative to introduce us to a lot of your, colleagues, a lot of, candidates who'd be interested to get on board. Now, it's a very interesting model. To be honest, it's a magical model. I've been thinking about launching this franchisee model for our organization, Abhishek World Logistics, since some time. And after a lot of, introspection, we have brought a very, very magical model. So it's absolutely gender neutral. So anybody, male or a female can be a part of it. It's absolutely white collar. A lot of people get perturbed by thinking, what the model is like. Is it going to be a transportation kind of model? A lot of people don't know about it, but it's exactly white collar model. You meet very cultured people to connect with. So it's gender neutral. Second, as you mentioned, Sonia, anybody can apply, whether somebody has experience, somebody's fresher, somebody's off the ground, somebody is willing to build a career, somebody wants to get connected socially in their own market. anybody can come on board. What we are doing is the role of the individual is going to look at the companies who are involved in exports and imports within their region, and rest everything would be done by Sumanta and team. So it's absolutely zero hassle for any partner who's getting on board. Now, coming on the competitive advantages, been in the industry for 22 years. One of the beautiful aspects that our organization has, and Abhishek World Logistics has a support from the parent company, is that all the products that are needed on international logistics are in-house. There are very few companies in India, which are catering to all the products. When I say all the products, if you go across our industry, somebody's an ocean specialist, somebody's an air specialist, somebody's a custom clearance specialist. No, we bring the best of all the worlds. So whether it be ocean, air, custom clearance, projects, fine arts, dangerous goods, pharma handling, tech handling, automotive, expertise. So there are a lot of expertise that we're bringing on board for our people who are willing to get involved. The investments are very small, and depending on the market we are getting into, the business can, we've given very small numbers, looking at the lowest that's possible. But the numbers can go very, very big, especially in markets like Kanpur, Lucknow, Varanasi, Bhadoi, which are of great market. I'm talking of North India because currently we are looking at companies, to come on North Indian setup. We are just saying 30 lakhs, and we are only looking at a, revenue of, let's say, $500,000 by the end of the year. It can be multi-million dollars by the end of the year, provided there's a right partner. And we are open. We are absolutely open to invest, open to work in those regions. Obviously, the responsibility of the money invested in that region lies with the partner, and that would be very clearly mentioned in the contract. And would be serviced by all the investments we are making, would be guaranteed by the checks that they would issue. So it's a very simple model. ROI is fantastic, and it can exceed certain arrangements that Dada has told us. That's about us, and we are ready to take any questions. Anybody who wants to get on board, we are happy to help and happy to take your success forward.
Absolutely. That's very, very relevant, what you talked about. And now understanding, while I understand the overall investment being made, and there's also component of 30 odd lakhs that we have kept as a working capital. So I'd like to take maybe a little deep, dive into understanding a little bit on the financial dynamics and what all would it be required, by a franchise partner, and what kind of setup do we need? What kind of locations ideally we need, apart from the cities that are priority for us, but what are the ideal locations one must get in? And if we can also talk a little bit on, what this 30 lakhs would entail, and this working capital is needed for the initial how many months, if little bit understanding you can share with our investors.
Let me explain you something. To be honest, this 30 lakhs is only needed if some business is coming on board. If no business is coming on board, no money is needed, to be honest. You just need a handling fee and a partner fee, and that's it. Now, our business is very capital intensive, right? And the shipping lines have to be paid in 7 days. Airlines have to be paid in advance. Customs, all expenses are in advance. It's a very capital intensive industry. But, as there are a lot of multinational companies in this region, a lot of large Indian, business houses that have invested in our industry, there is a certain methodology that is adopted when you're getting a customer on board. So obviously, we will find some customers who would pay us upfront. We would find some customers who would pay us in 15 days. But the moment we get into a medium to large enterprise in that region, they would ask for a 30 days to a 60 days credit, right? And that is where the investment comes in place. So you get into one good account. And I can take an example. I can take an example of any city. Let's say we go to a city like Kanpur, and we are able to get one account like Mirza Tanneries on board. I'm just saying. I'm just giving an example. Or a Northern Tannery on board. Or, the soap guys that are there. Each company would have probably, a revenue turnover of approximately 1 crore to 2 crores, on monthly basis. And the payment terms would be 30 to 45 days to 60 days. So when you're taking that customer on board, you're already investing in that customer 2 to 3 crores of your own money, right? So now, why we have kept this figure of 30 lakhs is because we really understand in franchisee India, there's a lot of fresh blood which comes on board, which may not have deep pockets, That is why we said, okay, let's start with something and see how the partners are nurtured and what kind of quality we have in terms of, franchisee partners that are coming on board. The ROIs and the investments only come into place when there is some business in that region. And once the business is there, there's no limit. So each average money invested turns around 6 to 7 times a year. So let's say if somebody invests 30 lakhs, we are minimum looking at a turnover of 2 crores and 10 lakhs by the end of the year, right? For that individual. And once, let's say we have created that 2 crores and 10 lakhs of revenue in the market and we are settled, we are not stopping at 2 crores and 10 lakhs because it becomes, of equal interest to Mr. Sumanta Day and his team to make sure that 2 crores, 10 lakhs and that region at least becomes 10 crores to 12 crores. You understand? Because, it's always selling deep in that market. And the role of the partner, imagine tomorrow he says, oh, I'm not willing to invest more than 30 lakhs. Well, that's what my pocket allows. Obviously, we would invest by our own means, and there'll be profit sharing with him on different notes, depending on he's not invested. And we have enhanced the numbers to an exponential level. So obviously the investment from our company would get into that zone, depending on, the approval from the finance team, the audit team, the customer is relevant where we can make an investment. So Sonia, it's a magical initiative that you have launched and you're launching. It's a magical initiative that we have in mind today with our partners. And I'm sure each one of them will be extremely happy and delighted to get on board. Yeah, Dada, you want to say something?
There was a question. I thought instead of typing an answer,
I'll take all these questions, Sumanta ji. I'll take all these questions because I see a lot of people asking these questions, and I would take all these questions so that everybody out there can even benefit. And we have also people who are watching live on Facebook. So I'll take all these questions also, which are asked by our investors on this forum. And my next, part, and a part of that would be covered, I see from the question which I see in the Q&A box, is more on the financial, working. So if we understand typical margins that we have in the business, and also as a go-to-market for a new franchise partner, what are 2 or 3 things that you want to advise, and what are the kind of accounts he should get on board? And and every business has this 80-20 rule. Maybe your 20% accounts get 80% of business, but you also have loss leaders. So how do we actually create our accounts? And if we say I have some institutional accounts, and then I have maybe B category accounts, C category accounts, and what margins typically one can earn on these. So would you want to explain maybe how does the business get started, what account he brings on board, what margins, and typically what time does it take for him to reach that level of maybe the revenue that we're talking about?
Me.
I'll just take a half a minute, then I think better
Sure.
answer the rest about how to get the business. We just explain, right? We can again pass on that presentation. They can talk to us how to get the business. Our business is basically international freight forwarding, starting from pickup to delivery, a different country, or pick up from another country and up to a location here in India, or could be to the port or the airport. So basically end-to-end, one-stop shop, basically the partner would have along with us. That's the business. If they want to know how to get the business, that is something, the second part of the question of somebody, Mr. Himanshu, asked. So that I would say that, if you have a relevance in terms of the industry knowledge, it will help you, or else we'll give you a training on how to sort of run this business anyway. But in terms of market classification, in terms of A, B, C, 80-20, since we're looking at cities or towns smaller than Delhi, Bombay, and other places, we would naturally look at the market around. So if he can classify, the partner can classify A, B, C is fine. But for us, I think the market would be the local market. Whoever has business, he has to go and tap. Another, the decision on classifying would be entirely a commercial decision of the partner, what I feel. Rest, I think I would give it to Neeraj to explain further.
Sure.
So we will also handheld the franchisee partner. If somebody who's out of the industry comes into a city which is of interest to us and we accept them as a franchisee partner, Dada and his team will travel to that city to handheld that partner and be a part of first 15, 20 sales calls, so that he understands the questions and challenges that a customer poses when you go and make a decision. Number two, the only thing the gentleman or the lady has to do is to introduce a customer. There is going to be a dedicated CRM for that city sitting in our office in the headquarters at our own cost. So let's say tomorrow who does not understand the business goes to a customer and customer wants to ask something technical or wants something relevant and he's absolutely not aware. He will have a hotline to the CRM for the customer to understand and to explain and to hear, how the solutions can be brought forward for that customer. So there's going to be a lot of hand-holding for them,
Absolutely. Actually, now also, there's another question which I would, take, and this is one common question which we end up seeing in a lot of markets. We might not have presence or we are going deep in these markets. And pricing is one thing which also determines for maybe a new partner or a company to see how we actually go and get our early, partners or clients on board. So, how is that determined? Do we have a rate structure based on the tier that we are in, or do we look at what competition is and who decides, this structure for each city?
You see,
or maybe partners?
the market is, what do you call it? Demand and supply, controls the price, right? If there is a lot of demand for that sector from that region, and somebody's controlling business, maybe they have a preferred price, and we may not have that preferred price. But again, coming to the size that we have, coming to the the shipments we do every year, coming to the number of volumes we do annually, I don't see any challenge over there that we will not be able to discard competition. Yes, but as every industry is, as every government contracts are, as every retail industry is, sometimes it goes over competitive. But, by the end of the month, by the end of the quarter, you have same average numbers that we have mentioned in our slides, So maybe, to get a large customer on board, we may have to go very, very aggressive. And obviously in coordination with our franchisee partner, after sharing the challenges that a customer getting on board may bring, we may take a decision of how the customer has to be brought on board. But once the customer is on board, what our slide shows is absolutely achievable and will be achieved.
Sure. And now, as also, a market that we are entering in, and we've talked about, some tie-ups that we would do in those local markets. One, when we look at these markets or an inquiry that comes in, how do we select the market potential or understand how potential that market is for that partner or that location? Because sometimes going by pin code alone does not help us in understanding the potential, because I might have a bigger potential audience in certain pin codes and maybe smaller in certain pin codes. So how do we kind of structure this?
So we are not getting into pin codes kind of, franchisee partners. We're getting into city kind of franchisee partners. It's not the courier business we are picking up. It's an international logistics business we are picking up. So when we're into any, you name few cities if you want, Sonia, and I can tell you what their, credentials are and how one person would find, those credentials are. So let's say if we name a city like Kanpur, Lucknow, or Barabanki, which is very small city.
Right.
All these cities already have ICDs, like inland container depots.
Mm-hmm.
That means government is promoting those cities for export and import activities.
Correct.
They're already industrial hubs, right? There are already export houses over there. Government star export houses. So all this can be very, very comfortably, find out, and we will only accept partners from those cities where we know the scope is huge.
Sure.
Right? Or there's a decent scope with the kind of investments the partner is willing.
Mm-hmm. And he would be an exclusive partner in that city where we would not appoint any other partner. So the entire territory would be given to this partner.
I think we just lost it. Yeah. So all the cities would be well vetted by us, before we accept somebody as a partner. We're not going to accept somebody as a partner, if in that city there is no scope.
Definitely. And would the city come as an exclusive to the partner, or would this be?
Absolutely. One city, one partner. That is what we are looking at. Unless that partner says, I don't want to do the city and I want to do a certain part of it, it's
Sure.
okay.
Sure. And friends, one thing I want to add, because I did see some questions coming in on the investment. While the entry fee, like I mentioned, is a very small fee where you can become a partner with AWL with 1 lakh of investment. 30 lakhs is not the initial investment, but that's a working capital. And like Neeraj ji also explained, this is a business which runs on credit. So if you have a business coming in, that is the investment that you would need to put in the business overall. And I have a question from Mr. Amar Lunia, who's asking if we also need a requirement, is a requirement of a separate warehouse that one needs apart from the office space of 100 square feet.
Only when we have that kind of customer on board, right? If we are lucky to get a customer on board who wants us to manage his supply chain solutions, his last mile delivery, his warehousing, patterns, we have a amazingly talented warehousing team with us who would come into that city, look at the locations where the warehouse can be put up, look at the investments that has to be made by the guy who wants us to do the warehousing thing, or our own investments coming up, and obviously franchises would gain a part out of it.
Absolutely. And just to maybe, because you're looking at primarily North India and we have focus in small towns as well. If I look at maybe the top 10 or 15 odd locations or cities that you want to be in, would you want to mention maybe some of the priority cities which are important for you to be in?
I think we already shared it with your team, but we'll mention it again. Kanpur, Lucknow, Varanasi, Muradabad, Agra, Meerut, Dehradun, up north. Yeah, I'll go up north, more beyond. No, I'll go on that side. That Allahabad region also. There are a lot of companies over there. Exactly. So we've covered almost the region this side, and there'll be smaller areas also. Firozabad, a very amazing market. Firozabad. Then Farhad is another amazing market. So Aligarh. Will you believe it that there are companies in Aligarh which are importing from China and importing from around the world for Aligarh? So for me, also, I would not hold myself if somebody wants to come from a city where I don't have a set base, because I am also may not be aware of the potential till the time we go down into the market. So the moment the franchisee comes in, before we accept the fees, we are obviously going to have a 1 or 2 rounds of discussion with them. Then depending on his education, his reach in the market, what he understands about his local potential of that market, we would see, whom we were willing to take on board.
And I'll take
just a few names. Then we go up north till Amritsar. Till Amritsar, we can have partners. We can also have partners in Jammu and Kashmir. So there are a lot of cities in north.
Absolutely. Yes, so North India being, one of our most focused territories to be in, because I did see some of you talking about certain cities and states. So that would be maybe phase 2 for us. But for the initial phase 1, North India is a very focused market. And like I mentioned, they're looking at a very deep penetration in a lot of locations which have a very big potential. And these are underserved markets for AWL. And Neeraj, one question, while we've taken a question on already training support that we gave, and a lot of people who might not come from the industry, especially when it comes to going and acquiring these clients on board, what kind of training is given to them? One, and second, if I want to add, will there be some kind of assistance given to these partners? For example, being a brand that we are, and the legacy we already enjoy in the market, I'm sure you as a company also get a lot of leads which come directly to you. So any of such leads which come to you, would that be fulfilled by the partners in those locations, or that is something that remains with the company to be fulfilled?
See, I already told we will handheld the people who will come on board. Right, we'll handhold them. So training, etc. Obviously, they will have a basic literature being sent to them, basic guidelines of how the industry operates. But to understand and to talk in that lingo, for anybody would take around 6 months to a year.
Correct.
Right, but till that time, it will be all hand-holding from our side. Yeah. Then any lead coming from them, serviced by us is obviously their lead, right? Any lead coming from us in that region also goes into his kitty. There is nothing that we're going to take out of him because we want our partners to work as partners, right? And we really don't want to change them as we grow. You know, the more the merrier. We always have a policy of more the merrier, you know. And so in that city, it's always going to be a win-win, you know, relationship with our partners, whether it's our business or their business, does not make a difference.
And what is the term of our agreement, Neeraj? How long do we sign the agreement? And if a partner is renewing the agreement, are there any subsequent fees that you would charge him?
No, for existing partner, there's no subsequent fees, you know. And I think initial timeline has been already set, you know, by Dada and his team and by your office. So we're willing to go on with that term, you know, of 12 to 24 months.
That's helpful. And friends, what I'll request, I do see Samantha ji, you know, answering most of the questions that we're seeing in the Q&A box. And we also have a special discovery day that we're keeping for AWL. And I did see a lot of you asking on the P&L, how it works, the costing, the operating expenses. So we'll do maybe a one-to-one session where we take you through the entire financial understanding, the role that you would play. And we're also happy to share the entire presentation that we took you through in the last 50 odd minutes. And also there's a webinar which we have done. There's a recording.
Sonia, I'll just stop you for a minute. The first slide that I saw belongs to our super parent company. You know, that AD warehouse says that 75,000 customers. Obviously, we have serviced more than, you know, 100,000 customers today. Sure. But I want that slide to be taken off our presentation before it's sent to everybody.
Sure.
That has been edited. Sorry about that's been already edited, but I think when it was coming from franchisee, the old one had come.
Yeah, because we want to tell about us, you know, the Abhishek World Logistics, the current Abhishek World Logistics that's going to operate on that model.
Absolutely. I think we will do that.
You know, ROI and investments is very simple. It's very simple, you know, and operational expenses, we are taking care of all operational expenses from headquarters. So let's say I want to clarify that, and I want people to hear also from your team, and if somebody is, you know, interested in this, that every shipment would be serviced from the headquarters, because we can't take chances with any technical communications that exports and imports commands, right? Absolutely. So all the communication will be made from the headquarters with the franchisee partner in copy with the end customer. So all servicing, operational, customer servicing, quotation servicing, everything will be from the headquarters. So there is zero cost for somebody who wants to operate by themselves. Once they've grown the business, they can hire people to grow further business. For example, in a market like Kanpur, you know, if we have a right partner, we can end up doing almost $500,000 of, you know, turnover every month. I'm just giving an example. So, you know, the scope of Kanpur market would be $5 to $6 million a year. So depending on the partner who's coming on board, depending on, you know, how cash rich he is, depending on what investments he wants to make, depending on what income he wants to make out of this business. So it's an endless opportunity model, you know, it's very different to other franchisee, you know, pockets that they have. Take a shop, you know, take an, you know, franchisee where they sell in a certain zone. We're giving them the whole city and the whole world, you know, in their lap. So the learning is immense. The connect is immense. You know, the opening of the mind, if I would say it correctly, you know, they would have a wider vision how to conduct themselves in that market, you know, that is huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, you know, in a business like this, you know, you would also have some clients that are your clients for a longer duration. So it does not require maybe digging out every month for new clientele. You might have some smaller clients, but certain big clients would obviously drive a bigger, you know, portion of the revenue. And friends, like Neeraj ji mentioned, this is more about acquiring and creating, or I would say acquiring the most the clients in your locations. So it's a business development role where we go and acquire these clients, but the entire fulfillment of that client which is acquired is done by the company, and no expense of that is passed on to the franchisee. But overall volume that comes in, a percentage of that goes to a franchisee, as his revenue. And it's a 1-year agreement which is renewed without any fee. So which means if you're doing well in the city and there's a big opportunity that you have in the city to be leveraged and maximized, you would have automatic renewal of a relationship in maybe the subsequent agreement. So before we close, Neeraj and Sumanta ji, I'll request if there's a message that you want to give to the entire audience who's listening live and on the webinar.
Dada, your point.
Well, just to summarize that this business model is a model where we are not restricting ourselves to a particular locale or a domain. Well, the domain is international freight forwarding, but the expanse is the whole world. So I want to reiterate once again that it is not a local small business model that we're looking at. Business can scale up almost every few months. So it's all about, if you have the right skill there, we are there to assist. Of course, we as partners grow together, but I think you have a whole expanse in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Neeraj.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha ji. And
Thank
friends,
you, Neeraj. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Before
Thank
I close, I'll request Ashna to kindly take over. Ashna, over to you for your concluding remarks.
Thank you so much, Neeraj ji. Thank you so much, Sumanta ji. Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am, for joining in today. Thanks all the dear participants for your registration, for your queries, attending this webinar. Please connect with us at our business hotline number, which is 9717683838. You can also write to us at feedback@franchiseindia.in. We are very much available at different social handles. We welcome all your suggestion, feedback at our Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter account. Also, in case you wish to understand different events we do, pan-India, physical as well as digital event, international, national opportunities, connect with management team of Franchise India, Gaurav sir and Sunima at their LinkedIn IDs. And tomorrow under our 12 p.m. webinar, we are bringing the brand which comes from the land of Maharashtra, Ayushati. The brand is well-known name for their Asian proven health solution. They are into system, into market since 1987, and they have a strong presence with 150 clinics globally. So don't miss the chance. Join us tomorrow to understand their entire business as well as financial model. This particular business opportunity can be started with as low as investment of 8 lakh rupees. Do registration with us. Registration can be done either by joining us at our business hotline number or go to any of our social pages where there is a registration link. Thank you once again for joining in today. Have a great day ahead. Stay safe, stay happy.